Michael Sohlman, former board of the Swedish Institute of International Affairs and former director of the Nobel Foundation. As much as that. Hello, Michael.
Hello, very nice to see you.
It is nice to see you again. My first question is, talk us through, please, the whole thing. How should we take the European Court's decision to lift European Union sanctions on Russian businessmen? Is this a unique case, or does it indicate a troubling trend?
I wouldn't think there's a troubling trend. I don't think, I don't know, but sure not the Court of Justice would take a new trend. And they are looking at the circumstances, I guess, of these three gentlemen. I don't know them, and so I can't have any hypothesis of a new trend. Of course, this hypothetically, there are rich Russians who have not been supporting Putin's war. To what extent these three have done it or not, I have no idea.
Okay, well, I'll take that as an answer, but my second question is, will the frozen Russian assets be transferred to Ukraine? Do you believe this is going to happen?
What in the scenario, which at least I think 99% of Swedes hope for, that is a victory of Ukraine. Those assets are low-hanging fruit. Will be more difficult to press Russia for other forms of compensation, which of course would be a natural outcome of any agreement. But given the forecast now, well, I shouldn't go into that, but we are all hoping for a Ukrainian victory, and then these assets are there to take.
We all do, indeed. Looking from the side of the West, what role does Ukraine play in the process of transferring these funds faster, if any at all? Is it a significant player or just sitting and waiting duck?
The role which Ukraine plays in what circumstance?
Yes.
In what question?
Exactly. My question is Ukraine's, I'll rephrase my question. So is Ukraine's effort significant? And does the West see that it is a significant effort that Ukraine takes in terms of getting these frozen assets faster?
Yes, I'm not privy to the negotiations, but the position of Ukraine is well known. What I understand is the hurdles are different kind of legal rules, laws, etc. in the European Union. What you can or what you cannot do. At present, they are frozen. But obviously, serious people think that there are ways to eliminate these hurdles and use these resources.
My next question is, what do you think the motivation of the countries that are helping Russia to circumvent sanctions, like Turkey or Kazakhstan? Is that purely money? Is that purely economical?
Well, I think it's different for these countries. Turkey is playing its particular game in the region, and has a kind of mafioso relationship with the present leader of the Russian Federation. So they are in the same game, as it were. And one lever which Erdogan has is this giving possibilities for people to circumvent the sanctions. He is both dependent on Russia for economic reasons. He has led the Turkish economy into very great difficulties. At the same time, Russia is dependent on him. So it's a kind of tug of war between them. When it comes to the Trans-Caspian republics, states, I think they have different degrees of affinity to Russia, and therefore different policies. I guess Turkmenistan or Kyrgyzstan is most dependent on Russia, Kazakhstan less so. But what we see is, from the point of view of the West, well, particularly in this country, our trade has surged with Turkey and with Kazakhstan in a remarkable way, which indicates that part of the Russian import demand, is then satisfied via Constantinople or Istanbul or Ankara and Astana. But not all that might be goods which are under sanctions. There might be other goods which Russians are getting this way because the companies don't want or are not able to sell directly to Russia.
Let us speculate.
But Swedish trade with Russia has always been very small. 1% of our exports at best.
That was historically was very small, right? It never was big.
Historically. So it's a different case for Finland, where
Exactly.
they have had periods of huge dependence or I would say huge influence of trade with Russia, up to 15% of total exports.
Yeah, that is much. Yeah.
But it's a completely different situation.
Let us just speculate. What just came, a thought came to my mind. So, if Kazakhstan, or say Kyrgyzstan, I don't know, a country that is dependent on Russia, for some reason, the president of that country says no to helping Russia to circumvent sanctions, to double exporting, which is just no, for some, ends it up. That ends here and now. Do you think Russia has a real influence and is powerful enough now to do something about it?
Well, which country do you talk about?
It doesn't matter. Oh, really, maybe it matters. That's a good point. Okay, let's take Kazakhstan. Say Kazakhstan is no more helping Russia in any way and turns absolutely pro-Ukrainian and pro-Western and pro-European. Hypothetically,
well,
can Russia do something about it?
Of course, the possibilities of Russia to influence Kazakhstan is completely different compared to Scandinavian countries, for example, or even Germany. I mean, now is not dependent to any substantial degree at all, actually, on Russia. Whereas Kazakhstan is a completely different question. It's enormous long border. It's a huge volume of trade. It's a sizable, 15% of the population which are Russian speakers or Russians. So it's a different situation. But at the same time, you see how Mr. Tokayev is quite successful in navigating this back into Nazarbayev's this multivectoral policy. There is a fact that there is another neighbor which is much more important, not much more, but at least as Russia, and that's China. And I think it's very important to note that President Xi, on the way to the meeting, the summit in Samarkand, he stopped by in Astana and made a declaration, which one should read properly, because where there he says that China is very appreciating the developments in Kazakhstan and will take a categorical stand against any third party intervening into the internal matters of Kazakhstan. It's not. This is not aimed at Iceland or even Sweden. It's another country which is aimed at, and that is the balancing act of President Tokayev, which is impressive, I would say.
Indeed. What do you think for this situation in the world and with Ukraine and Russia, this brutal war? Is it favorable for China after all?
So, sorry, I didn't get your
Is this
question.
in situation with Ukraine? Is the war in Ukraine, this invasion of Russia in Ukraine, is this whole situation is favorable for China? Do you think?
Yes, yes. It brings Russia nearly closer to China, makes it more dependent, and therefore the coalition which China or Xi wants to construct against the United States or the West, well,
Right.
mainly the United States, not the West in general, is reinforced. And then purely commercially, I understand the Chinese culture is sophisticated but quite commercial too. The situation puts the Russians have put them in a situation where they have only one or two customers, major customers. It's China, and then for the oil, it's India. Problem is that they have problems to make use of the rupees they are earning from their oil in India. They are sort of, it's not convertible. And there's a similar problem with the yuan, which they are earning. That's less so. But it's really, from point of view of Beijing, it's a favorable situation with a weak seller who
Absolutely.
can't touch many others.
Yeah,
So,
enormous resources of Russia are probably very favorable for China to get. I mean, it's very interesting. They are very interested in that. Why? My next question is more to you.
But I would say, I would add here that it seems so completely stupid from the Russians' point of view. There has been, since the occupation of Crimea and Donbass, there have been so-called thinkers in Moscow who have been advocating this turn to the east. But it's quite clear that the plan wasn't at all what has happened. The plan was to take Ukraine in 3 days, and then Russia would be rather strong. Well, that's according to the obvious Kremlin plan. Now they sit there and in a very difficult situation.
All right. Well, the Kremlin is. Are you telling me the Kremlin is in a very difficult situation? And you see that from Sweden.
Well, I mean, in this situation with trade.
Yeah. Okay. Trade.
Being cut off from the West.
You cut off from the West. Yeah.
Explicitly said by this former president they have that. Yes, if you listen to the famous meeting of the Security Council, in a couple of weeks, or they will come on all four, crawling, begging for our energy, etc. So that was the plan.
I mean, that sounds like, like a line from the Star Wars to me. They come with all the glory and everything. But why wouldn't you stop? Why wouldn't Putin just stop all that? Yeah, I mean, why Putin wouldn't stop all this, trying to do some real negotiation with an international community, with international society, with Ukraine? Why wouldn't he withdraw back his army? Because the nation wouldn't agree to that?
I certainly don't know. well, one can only hypothesize. The standard explanation is that he can't backtrack because he has put so much in this adventure, and he would be threatened not only politically but also physically. And that's one explanation. Another more sinister explanation is that he thinks, yes, it didn't go the way we planned, but we can go on. And as he has the attitude to human lives, which he has, he can go on, he thinks, for very long. And, well, his public pronouncements boil down to that situation is under control. He can't repeat that everything goes according to the plan, but victory is somewhere there in the future. So that's the sinister calculation. Unfortunately, I think that's the most realistic one. Why he doesn't stop.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Sohlman, for your time and for your efforts, for your job, and for your honest and sincere answers. Thank you.
Well, thank you for calling. You're always welcome.